The early morning of May 9, 1980, began like any other for commuters crossing Tampa Bay, Florida, on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. But for 35 unsuspecting people, this day would end in tragedy. This is the story of the Skyway Bridge disaster, a catastrophic collision between engineering, nature, and human error. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge was a vital connection between St. Petersburg and Bradenton. Its dual spans, completed in 1954 and 1971 respectively, were marvels of mid-20th century engineering. The bridge stretched nearly 4 miles across Tampa Bay, with a central section rising 150 feet above the water to allow the passage of large ships into the busy port of Tampa. It was a lifeline for the region's commerce and travelers, carrying thousands of vehicles each day. On that fateful morning, however, the weather took a dramatic turn. A fast-moving storm swept through the area, bringing heavy rain, fierce winds, and almost zero visibility. Conditions quickly deteriorated, and the stage was set for disaster. At the same time, a 609-foot bulk carrier named Summit Venture was making its approach to Tampa Bay. The ship, registered in Liberia, was under the command of Captain John Lero, an experienced harbour pilot. The vessel's mission was to load phosphate, a critical ingredient for fertilizer production, destined for export. Navigating Tampa Bay's narrow shipping channels was challenging under normal circumstances. Shallow waters flanked the channels, leaving little room for error. But on this day, visibility was so poor that Captain Lero relied almost entirely on radar, which was being distorted by the heavy rain. Just before 7:34 a.m., the unthinkable happened. The Summit Venture veered off its intended course and struck one of the bridge's support piers. The impact caused 1,200 feet of the southbound span to collapse, sending a Greyhound bus, 6 cars, and a pickup truck plummeting 150 feet into the turbulent waters below. 35 lives were lost in an instant. The only survivor of the vehicles that went over the edge was Wesley McIntyre, whose pickup truck landed in the bay and floated long enough for him to escape. His survival was nothing short of miraculous, but he lived with the trauma of that day for the rest of his life. The collapse left a gaping void in the bridge and a scar on the hearts of the community. Emergency responders, the Coast Guard and local authorities quickly converged on the scene, but the devastation was overwhelming. Recovery efforts were hampered by the stormy conditions and the depth of the water. Investigations revealed that the design of the bridge piers made them vulnerable to ship impacts. The support structures were not reinforced to withstand the force of a collision with a large vessel. This oversight would lead to major changes in bridge engineering standards across the country. In the aftermath, the southbound span of the Sunshine Skyway was deemed irreparable and demolished. The northbound span remained open temporarily, but was closed permanently when a new bridge was constructed in 1987. The replacement Sunshine Skyway Bridge was designed with far stronger support structures and features to prevent a similar tragedy. The disaster also prompted changes to shipping regulations in Tampa Bay. Better navigation aids, stricter pilot training, and improved weather monitoring were implemented to reduce the risks of such an event recurring. The Skyway Bridge disaster serves as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between human innovation and the forces of nature. 35 lives were lost that day, but their memory endures, etched into the history of Tampa Bay and commemorated by a plaque near the site of the tragedy. It was a moment that tested the resilience of a community and reshaped the future of transportation and engineering in Florida. Today, as vehicles cross the modern Sunshine Skyway Bridge, they traverse not just a path over water, but a bridge built on lessons learned from one of Florida's darkest days.